So Western Cape Premier Alan Winde is about to brief the media on the province's new economic growth and job creation strategy in partnership with the private sector. So looking forward years ahead, what the Cape will look like. Let's listen in now.
That response of the whole of government. Now, I also thought that in actual fact, all of the ministers should be here, because in actual fact, it is the whole of government. And so, you know, the Minister of Agriculture, and unfortunately you can't be here. Of course, we're not all sitting here. But you will see in the work that Joanne presents, you'll see all of the departments. If you think about education, and also being responsive, and especially the catch-up program in education right now, I think, you know, one of the very few spaces in the world that you're seeing that kind of energy going into catch-up post the pandemic. And here again, in jobs, catch-up. But I am glad that the Minister of Infrastructure is here, and HOD, and because it is also about saying what is letting us down and what do we need to really get ahead of. And so you will see energy, and I think energy is on everybody's lips at the moment. You'll see how energy is, you know, we've got to embrace this, and what is the opportunity. I think the decentralization, the privatization, and the enablement of the private sector along with the public sector answering a crisis is a massive opportunity, and it ticks so many of the other boxes, like us moving into this more carbon zero environment that the minister's just spoken about. So it really is exciting for me. My analogy, and I shared it a bit earlier with the team, my analogy is this rocket that's gone into space, and you always see when a rocket leaves the atmosphere, that big fuel tank drops off and the next fuel tanks kick in. Well, here's another set of fuel tanks that have got to kick in to just push us to the next level, and that's what's exciting for me. This is really WOGA, the whole of government approach, which enables WOSA, which is the whole of society approach. And how do we get that right? It's in these kind of strategies. And so I really want to say thank you very much to the whole of government team that have been part of the journey of putting the strategy together, but then specifically to the team who've done it day and night, HOD and your team. You've really spent that time pulling it together. And of course, the minister spoke about the 7 strategies. I can't remember how many were all together in the long list. And of course, there could be 1,000 of them. But you've got to zone in and get to a focus space. And I think that's where we find ourselves today. So for me, I'm no longer in your seat, Minister. But for me, it's really exciting to see this coming together, the gelling of it. And then, of course, the next minister, also part of making sure that we get it right, that we land it, and we take co-responsibility for creating that partnership that's going to deliver on growth for jobs. I always say, in the same vein as the best antidote for poverty is a job, I always say the best way to stop a bullet is a job, and the best way to give dignity is a job. A job changes a family. A job changes a household, and if we get the right growth, we get the right strategies aligned to that growth, we get the right number of jobs coming in, and we change everything.
Thank you very much, Premier, for those words. We have been inspired by the vision. We have been challenged by the vision. A R1 trillion economy by 2035, growing at 4-6%, is a tough order. But I always say there's a new acronym of LANDS called TINA. There is absolutely no alternative if we are to take people out of poverty and create jobs. And I think the next presentation that's going to come is Minister Simmers. I'd like Mr. Simmers to go first, please, John. Yeah. So, Minister Simmers, if I could hand over to you, please.
Thank you very much, HOD, and once again, good morning to the Premier, my colleague, Minister Winde, I see the Director General, but also all other relevant HODs here. And Premier, indeed, for the past 2 years, infrastructure has dominated discussions and has been the #1 priority on my agenda since the department went live on the 1st of April. Also realizing that for us as a provincial government, We fully understand the importance of infrastructure for our region's economy above all. Now, the growth for job strategy, as my colleague alluded to, envisages a jobs-rich, inclusive, sustainable, but also a resilient provincial Western Cape economy that needs to grow between 4 to 6% per year in real terms by 2035. Now, I do realize that locked into that 4 to 6%, infrastructure is a core component for the growth for job strategy in order that we can stimulate economic growth across all districts within our province. Now, in tandem, we do have the Western Cape Infrastructure Framework 2050 because we need to maintain the current infrastructure while we plan the future infrastructure in tandem with my colleagues' vision as well. And therefore, the framework's vision is ultimately to ensure, as per my colleagues' inputs, infrastructure-led growth and investment, but it's for the Western Cape that will benefit all of the communities which we serve. Now, implementation of this framework is driven by a multifaceted approach that includes WOGA, or the whole of government's approach, but above all, getting private sector participation to leverage our investments, to expedite our projects, but also to tap on their expertise, and yes, co-innovation, which is within the private and public sector. And our approach will accelerate, we do believe, project delivery towards 2035 and beyond, but above all, stimulate economic growth and job creation, which is at the core fundamentals of the G4J itself. Now, I want to emphasize the significance of the whole of government approach from an infrastructure glance. Firstly, my department plays a massive role as an enabler at the moment, as a collaborator, but above all, the implementing agent for our sister departments which are not present here today. But we also have supportive aspects in terms of infrastructure for growth, but also the development in the Western Cape, because we want to accomplish the following things. For the short term, it's focusing on creating a conducive infrastructure regulatory environment, as well as an investment in renewable energy and the digital infrastructure, because we do believe that will unlock in the short term opportunities on our journey to creating job opportunities. In the medium term, we do believe as a department, but also the role of infrastructure, that we will strengthen provincial integration by improving transportation networks, energy grids, and above all, digital connectivity across our province. But to the long term, towards 2035, our goal is to build resilient infrastructure systems across every town and those cities across our province. But we do realize that to effectively prioritize this, our public and private sector collaboration will need three basic things. Firstly, it's to future-proof infrastructure across our province through demand modeling, which we are currently busy with, data analytics and population dynamics, given the projected growth of our province over the next few years. Secondly, it's to prioritize investments in foundational infrastructure, in transportation, energy and digital connectivity, given that these sectors will have significant impact on the economic growth and job creation into the Western Cape of the future. And finally, we need to adopt a multi-sectoral approach.
All right, and that is the briefing underway about the growth and job creation strategy in the Western Cape.